The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Speaking with the Senator. I'm Senator Kevin Avard. I represent District 12 here in New Hampshire. And today we're going to be talking with another candidate for CD2. And I want to welcome Brian.
Yep.
And Belanger.
Yes.
To the show, and to thank you for running.
Thank you.
And it'll be an interesting conversation. We've already interviewed two candidates,
Okay.
Lynn Blankenbecker and Steve Negron.
Oh, awesome.
And you're the third. So you hail from New Boston.
New Boston.
And what made you decide to want to run for Congress?
Well, you know, I kind of had a little turmoil this last about 3 years ago. I got in a car wreck. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've always worked my life 2 jobs, always put into the system. And I had gotten into a car wreck, like I just said, and I haven't been able to work because of the medications that I'm on, and that I just have nerve damage on the left side of my body, and it's hard for me to walk. So I've been kind of getting back into the drive over the last 3 years, and I said to my wife, I said, you know, I got to find something to do, because you know what happens when you're not working. So
Heck, I'll run for Congress.
Yeah. So I said to my wife, you know what, I'm going to run for Congress. So
nice.
I started putting the feelers out there, and I was testing the waters over this last year and a half. Last summer, I was running around meeting at the Republican committees, and learning more and more. Kind of humbles you when you see a lot of things going on within your state and within your country. Kind of, you know, what's going on, the opioid crisis, the healthcare, pharmaceuticals was a big thing for me.
Sure.
Just the cost of pharmaceuticals, and I'm a big guy about negotiating, because I used to own businesses. So you negotiate stuff when you own a business. Why can't we, you know, sort of like our administration, our president, you know, we should be able to you know, kind of negotiate the costs of things, and it's a business.
Sure.
You know, and I just think that our Congress and our Senate and the government has just forgotten about us, and they've forgotten about, you know, the country. So I kind of want to throw my hat in to try and help out we the people, because I'm a big we the people fan.
Talking about we the people, off air we were talking about a little bit about your history, being in New Boston. Your father owned a restaurant.
Yeah.
And people would drive from miles around to come to the restaurant to get the onion rings and the clams. And there's nothing more American spirit than either a farmer or small owner of a diner.
Yep.
It's work 24/7.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so you know that American dream, that passion to work.
Yes.
You saw firsthand. And so basically you're coming from a layman's point of view. While you're running,
yes,
from what I gather.
Yes.
Have you ever served in office?
No, never.
That's probably another.
Yeah, no,
people are going to like you already.
Yeah, no, I never have. Yeah. But I've been around politics my whole life.
Okay.
President Ronald Reagan actually stopped into my parents' diner on his way up to one of the campaign stops.
Okay.
New Boston used to be a huge political town. They used to do a lot of meetings, town hall meetings in New Boston, and you know, George W. Bush did, Bill Clinton did actually, but Ronald Reagan stopped by, and Nancy Reagan, and they actually took my mom on the bus and brought her up to the town hall meeting. It was kind of neat.
Sure.
You know, they had burgers at the restaurant. It's a neat thing to say that a president actually stopped by. You know, there's a lot of history in my parents' restaurant. and it's just the townsfolks. You know, my dad said, you know, if you give respect, you're going to get respect, and that's kind of how we're all brought up.
What was the name of the restaurant?
Andy's Driving.
Andy's Driving.
Yeah.
So for the people that have been there in the past, he said he owned it for about 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
So what is your background? Obviously, you have the restaurant and the family heritage there. What have you done as what's your vocation background?
Well, I actually went off to college back in the '80s. I was gonna go into the military.
Okay.
But back at that time, President Reagan was kind of doing a cut, and there was only certain jobs open in the military, and I wanted to be a commercial diver. So what I did is I went off to school out to Seattle, Washington, and I did commercial diving technology, and so I did it was basically mechanical engineering. I rebuilt hydro dams and bridges, worked on hydro dams and bridges. So that was it was really neat to do that. A little later on, I went to work for my brother. My brother's company, we do satellite. We used to do satellite earth stations, and we did some government work, and then we did a lot of stuff for cable TV companies.
Okay.
And, so that was pretty neat doing that. And off times, because you're not always, you travel out of town to do those things. And same thing with diving. On the off time, I own companies. So I owned a small construction company that did some septic and portable toilet stuff, and so I got to meet the community. I got to do a lot of work for families, and you actually get to see them.
Sure.
You see the struggles that they go through. You see that something goes wrong at their home, and the money's not there. It's and it kind of you think about it and you look at, well, there's not a lot of money, so you try to help out a family, and so you ask them, geez, how is it to this point? Well, me and my wife both work, and the government it's just over regulation, so companies have to cut back. They always go to the worker. So it's kind of humbling. You find out this stuff as being in business, and then now going around the state, and you just notice that that the government has forgotten about we the people who actually help pay for everything in the government.
And how do you think you can change that?
Well, I'm a straight shooter. I'll tell you how it is, and I guess I'm not politically correct on a lot of the things that I say. My daughter always corrects me. So, Dad, you're running for Congress, so you got to think the way they think. And I says, Case, my daughter Cassandra, I said, I don't think that way. That's not how I do it. I figure I can take my business background and my business sense, and I can take it into Washington and say, you know what, we need to fix this bill. It should be done this way.
Okay.
Why can't we? Why can't we adjust it this way? And think of it as a business standpoint versus always as a political standpoint.
So how's the campaign going? You're knocking doors. I noticed you visited Brookline not too long ago.
Yep.
That's where we met.
Yep.
And
it's going well. I mean, it's I'm meeting the people.
Okay.
That's what I'm about. I'm meeting the people, going to businesses. We did the 4th of July. We were up in
New Hampshire.
Yeah, we're in New Hampshire, but we did Hillsborough.
Okay.
We're in Hillsborough at the Taxpayer Coalition, and then I was in the 4th of July celebration in Ware. And it's kind of neat because you meet these folks, and then after the 4th of July celebration, you're sitting down and you're talking to them, sitting on the bench, and you're kind of just finding out how things are going for them.
So what are people talking about?
That it's hard. It's hard to put money in the bank for a rainy day.
Right.
We're talking about the rainy day fund in New Hampshire, and it's people used to have a rainy day fund within their families, and it's hard. It's hard to put away for a rainy day fund because the money isn't there. A lot of the things the government's doing helps. I mean, kind of. I call it a kibosh on putting money in the rainy day fund because the funds aren't there for you.
So, from what I understand, the gross national products of over 4%.
Yeah.
The economy's moving around.
Yes.
That's a bright light. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. What would you do to expand on that?
Well, we need to make made in the USA. We need to do things more in the U.S.
Okay.
We need to bring things. We got to stop being beholden to foreign countries.
Okay.
The tariffs. I'm going to bring the tariffs up.
Do you support the president on that?
I support the president on the tariffs 100%. We got to have a level playing field. I know a lot of countries are upset because we're going to put it on a level playing field. While your beer is going to go up 2 cents a can. Well, I explain it to folks like, well, you know what? Product is going to go up. Steel's going to go up. Aluminum cans are going to go up. But what's going to drive having that cost go up? We're going to start making steel in the U.S. again. In Pennsylvania, those steel mills are going to be rolling back out again.
And the trade deficit may be affected, right? Yep. We've built basically China's army with our trade deficit with them, according to the experts. But that's interesting. So you have more money in people's pockets, what you want to talk about. What about energy? Have you thought about energy and the cost of energy in a New England area?
Yeah, I feel that we got, New Hampshire has had wonderful hydro plants. And it's a little background that I've had. Why aren't we retooling some of these hydro plants? Why aren't we fixing some of these? And I've had the discussion where, well, there's not as much water as there used to be. Well, we have reservoirs that they used to dam up all the rivers all the way up to the North Country. And we have a big, huge Clough Reservoir out there that can still accept water.
Nashua can generate 3 megawatts, from what I understand, which would be nice if we could utilize it. But
what if we get Bow back and running, firing up again? Because we could get coal.
It was actually just running the other day because of the heat, but I don't think that's going to be a cost-effective way. And obviously, they spent millions of dollars on that chimney. There's another issue. So energy, that's on your radar. New Hampshire seems to be struggling now with these PFOs in the water quality, EPA and regs, which seems to be a new development, something that wasn't on the radar a few years ago. What are your thoughts about regulations and the EPA and the environment?
Well, I think we're kind of, with the outgoing Obama administration, we had a real over-regulation. Mm-hmm. We had too many cooks in the kitchen. Okay. I guess you can call it. So we need to kind of tone down a little bit. I'm not saying get rid of the regulations, but we don't need as many regulators out there crossing each other's paths. We need to get some folks, find out if the water quality if there's problems with EPA issues, then we nip it in the bud and we take one issue at a time. We have to take one issue at a time, and we have to fix those issues, put those fires out as you're working. Mm-hmm. And we can do that. We can multitask. We're a big nation. We can do that. We have to start crossing the aisle. We have to start being friends. The Democrats or Republicans, independents. We have to. There's that old word, compromise. We have to compromise with each other, and it's there. We just have to want to be willing to talk, and we have to want to be willing to work together.
Interesting. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that does happen from time to time, mm-hmm. And civility is important. But then you get into hot topics like border control, border security, and what are your thoughts about that?
Well, the U.S. was the melting pot, back in the day, but you have to come in the right way. Even back in the day, they used to come into our country, and when the immigrants came into our country, they got checked out, they made sure that they were healthy, and they went through their process. Mm-hmm. It seems to be that some of the Dems want to forego some of these processes and just have an open border, just let them come in. We can't do that. We have to, today's day and age with security and just how everyone's trying to attack us. Not everybody. I mean, they're the individuals out there that want to harm the U.S., and 9/11, things that happen in that aspect. Right. So we have to vet the folks coming into the country, and we have to have the opportunity to do that.
So, having worked with some folks that tried to immigrate, one of the process, it's a slow process. It's tedious, it's expensive for some of them, and some of them get ripped off. When they come to the country, they might hire a lawyer, and the lawyer says, well, I'm going to need $5,000-$7,000. That could be their life savings, and skips down, And what do they do? Who do they go to? I've known people that's happened to. What are your thoughts about streamlining the process, making it the vetting process more agreeable or more easier, user friendly?
Well, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm for immigrants coming into our country. I'm for, but when they come into our country, they can't expect to come into our country, the immigrants and, in the refugee problem. I mean, they can't expect to come into our country and then get everything, handed to them and then they get a free ride. Because there are also folks in our country that have gotten hurt. Some of the elderly, our veterans, with a lot that come in and we give them all the goods and services.
That takes away from those.
That takes away from a veteran that has put his life on the line
or a
for
senior,
our country.
Or a disabled individual.
Or a disabled individual. Right. It takes away from that aspect. And we got to not forget that fund was there because of that veteran, that elderly
who contributed into the system,
or someone who was disabled that's contributing to the system,
right?
And it's like you have to think about it. And I know your mind, you go crazy with it, but we can't give away the farm. We have to think of new ways and better ways of doing it. I have some ideas. That I would float out there to how to handle our refugee problem that might help us on the other end. But we have to be willing to sit down to the table and talk. And it can't be just, let them into our country and, we're going to give them housing. We're going to give them a food stipend. We're going to give them a cash stipend. And we're going to you got to step back and say, wait a minute, we have some homeless individuals that could use some help.
Okay.
We have some disabled folks that could use some help. We have veterans that, we have to think of our veterans. They did their job for us.
Right.
It's time we got to step up and help them.
So in recent years, there's been many mass shootings, and some people want gun control. Other people want mental health issues, and other people just want the laws to be enforced. Where are you on these gun issues?
Oh, I'm a avid gun guy.
Okay.
I've carried a gun since I was 18. I've had my permit, and I've gone hunting, shooting. It's a tough avenue to go down. But we don't have per se a gun problem in our country. There's a mental health issue. We have to help the mental health, the mentally disabled. We have to help them also.
Okay.
But again, if our focus is on immigrants coming into the country, we'll forget about the mental health, and we'll forget about the veterans, and we forget about the elderly. And these are areas that we have to focus on and not so much put everything into our immigration. We have to kind of diversify
Right.
what we do, and we have to have people who can multitask and can diversify.
Healthcare obviously has been a very big issue over recent years, and the cost has skyrocketed. We were supposed to go down to $2,500. You're supposed to be able to keep your doctor. What is your general view of the healthcare system, and what would you propose to make it better?
Well, we gotta just. It's almost sometimes we gotta just stop and start over again. I did not agree with, again, like I say, a lot of folks ask me, well, are you on Trump's side? Are you an avid Trump supporter? Well, you know what? I support my administration. Whether I was a Democrat or a Republican, I would support my administration because they're what we have.
Okay.
We have them. So we have to help versus hinder. We can't go 4 years and do nothing. We have to actually help the administration. So I've always agreed to disagree with our president. I agree. We did good with the tax benefits. We're going to have some money in our pocket. It's wonderful. I'm all for getting money back into families' pockets because I'm about we the people. So if we go to Washington and we work on the healthcare, we should be able to get together with everybody, put everybody's ideas together, and come up with a plan that puts money back into the pockets of the American citizens, the Granite Staters. Granite Staters, I'm worried about. We need to put money back into the Granite Staters' pockets so then we can thrive a little more. They're going to be more willing to take a camping trip and spend some money. It all goes around in a big vicious circle. If we can put more money in our pockets, we'll spend more money.
So New Hampshire's been struggling at workforce. It seems like there's help wanted signs everywhere. What are your thoughts about that issue? It seems as though we're losing our help in New Hampshire. What would you do on the federal level to help to beef up our workforce?
Well, what we got to do is we have to get some of these young college students that are in New Hampshire. We got to get them to stay in New Hampshire.
How?
Well, the thing is, we got to make it attractive for them. We got to keep some of these companies here in New Hampshire. We can't have these companies leaving New Hampshire, closing down. Sylvania, I saw it on South Willow Street. They're down a plant. We have to try and entice them to instead of increasing a plant in another state, we got to make it attractive for them to retool their plant here. I don't know all the answers. But we, the people, can get together and figure those answers out, and it would be just by going to these, talking to the CEO and the people running the plants that are in New Hampshire now, and say, what can we do to get you more workforce? Wouldn't you like to? Are you thinking of expanding? Try and get into the minds of some of these guys that are running these companies and figure out, or have our delegation in Washington, when we're bringing companies back into the country, when Mr. Trump and the administration says, hey, these 3 companies are going to bring a plant back to the U.S., we got to be there.
Right.
We got to jump right in line first and say, hey, I got a building here in New Hampshire. Why don't you come take a look? Fly them out here, have them come check out what the Granite State's all about. Beautiful place to live, wonderful place to raise a family. So that's workforce. Put people, get people back here to New Hampshire. They can transfer people here, and that will increase. Take college students, keep them here in New Hampshire.
One of the issues that's we're struggling with, and we're probably going to need some federal help, is this whole idea that tax-free New Hampshire is in jeopardy. Other states are wanting us to collect a tax for them. What are your thoughts?
No.
No. Well, it's already happened.
Live free or die. It's always been tax-free New Hampshire to myself.
Yeah.
It's wonderful because we get people from Massachusetts that come up in Rhode Island and Connecticut. They drive up to New Hampshire to do shopping, to do school shopping and what have you, and that helps New Hampshire businesses.
And they resent it. Just saying that's an issue that may have to be on a federal level that you folks are going to have to consider. Why are you running against Ms. Custer?
Why am I running against Ms. Custer? She doesn't represent. She's not there for us. My situation over the past 3 years, I've tried to reach out to the office, because she's there. She's supposed to be there for the people. And you don't get no response. You get her staff, you get a wonderful call line, but you don't get no response from her. You see her pop up every once in a while. We need someone who's going to be here for the Granite Staters. Well, I believe that I'm bringing we the people to Washington because it's our seat. It's not my seat. When I come back from Washington and do my state time, I'll be here for the people. I'll go to these meetings in these towns, Republican or even Democrat. I'll try a few of these Democrat meetings. When I become congressman, I'll go to the Democrat meeting so they can meet me. Because you know what? I have to represent the Democratic part of our state as well as the Independent and the Green Party. So I have to go to these meetings, and that would be part of what I have to do.
Right.
And I'm putting myself out there to do that because, my kids are grown now. They're off to college, they're getting ready, they're doing their careers. So I have the time to do that, and I'll devote my time for the Granite State.
So what events are coming up on your campaign? Where will you be next? Are you meeting? Are you just out there knocking doors? What'll be coming up soon in the next
Well, we
few
got the
weeks?
fair season going on.
Okay.
A few of the Republican committees are going to have some tables and tents at the fairs. So, like I said, I'm going to put myself out there for them. There's a couple carnivals going on also that I go to these carnivals.
Okay.
And a lot of times, like I did here in Nashua, I did roasted corn on the cob. Here, I have a big corn roaster, and I like to roast corn on the cob and talk to the people because that's where you meet the people.
Sure.
On their terms. You know, they get a few bucks at the end of the week in their paycheck, and they could come out to the carnival. You know, and I'll sit there and talk to them and just find out, geez, what's going on in your life? What do you think about what's going on? And you get it from all over. And I've talked to Democratic families, and I've actually sat down and went to their barbecues at their house, and I've sat down with some families, and I said, hey, you know, what's going on? And, you know, it's weird because you're a Republican and a Democrat, but a couple of their family members were Republicans too. You know, they're not all Democrats.
So
but
you just lift up that hat. There's no horns in there,
no
right?
horns
Okay.
in there. No.
That's right.
So I don't mind meeting the Democrat family, and because
Sure.
I will have to represent them when I'm in Washington.
They'll be your constituents.
So I'd like to ask what's on their mind.
Sure.
And you know what? They're almost on the same line of they want the same things as we being Republicans. You know, they want more money in their pocket at the end of the week. They want their kids to have a good education.
Right.
You know, they want their veteran uncle or their veteran brother to actually get what's due to him or her.
Right.
So, you know, they all want the same things. It's just, you know, some of them a little bit lean left and we lean right, you know.
So we got about a minute. How do people get in touch with you?
They can get me on my website, belangerfornewhampshire.com, or they can email me. It's belanger.4 New Hampshire spelled out at yahoo.com.
Well, I'm going to ask you to give a pitch to the camera, that number 2 right there, and go ahead and just reach out to the folks from Nashua.
Well, you know, folks in Nashua, I need your support. I'll be there for you. I'm working for we the people in Washington. You know, I'm not about big corporations. I don't. You know, the big corporations aren't important they're important to me, but the people are more important, to bring your voice back to Washington. We need to bring we the people so that our ideas are in Washington to help the administration. And like I said, just ask for your support. Feel free to contact me. Again, you can when you go on my website, my telephone number's on there. You can even call me. But we'll be at some functions here in Hollis. Not Hollis, in
5 seconds.
Kingston and Hudson. There's some carnivals and the fairs. Please stop by and see me.
And thanks for watching Speaking with the Senator. We hope this is helpful as far as you helping picking out candidates. And until next week, thanks for watching. We'll see you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.